I'd always considered my life to be comfortably predictable, a steady cadence of work, quiet evenings at home, and the occasional weekend escape that rarely deviated from the norm. That was until, one crisp autumn afternoon, my phone vibrated with an alert that would forever alter the rhythm of my days. I glanced at the screen as I was sorting through my messages and noticed a text from an unfamiliar number. Its brevity and cryptic tone immediately seized my attention. Tonight. 9 p.m. Opulent suite. Fine dining awaits. Reply if you dare. The message sent a jolt through me. I stared at the screen, heart thumping in a way that I hadn't experienced in years. There was no signature, no additional explanation, just an invitation that was as alluring as it was mysterious. I spent a long minute debating whether to dismiss it as a prank or an error. But something in that message, a subtle blend of challenge and promise, resonated with a part of me that had long been dormant, a part that yearned for spontaneity, adventure, and a touch of danger. That evening, I decided to respond with a cautious yes. I didn't know what to expect. Perhaps it was merely a marketing gimmick or a scam. But as the minutes passed and no further instructions arrived, I couldn't shake the sense that fate had presented me with a rare chance to break out of my self-imposed routine. I spent the remainder of the afternoon in a state of nervous anticipation. The familiar surroundings of my modest apartment began to blur, and I found my thoughts wandering to dreams of long-forgotten nights filled with excitement, romance, and the kind of mystery that films and novels so effortlessly captured. In a spontaneous bid to prepare myself, I rummaged through my closet and selected a sharp, dark blazer paired with a crisp white shirt. I chose an outfit that felt both sophisticated and daring, a visual reminder that tonight, I would leave behind the safe confines of my everyday life. As dusk turned to twilight, I left my apartment with a mix of trepidation and exhilaration. I had no clear idea where to go, only that the message had instructed me to be at the opulent suite at 9 p.m. I began my drive through the city, letting the neon lights and softly falling rain set the stage for what felt like an unfolding adventure. Every turn of the wheel, every red light, seemed to heighten my awareness of the possibility that something extraordinary was about to occur. I eventually arrived at a part of the city known for its luxurious hotels and high-end establishments, a district where glass towers and vintage palazzas stood side by side. My phone screen flickered as I received a new text. The venue is at Le Grand Eclipse, Suite 1203. Be there at 9. The name sent a ripple of excitement through me. Le Grand Eclipse was known among the city's elite for its breathtaking views and impeccable service. I parked my car near the hotel and took a moment to steady my breathing before stepping into the cool night. Inside the lobby, polished marble floors and softly lit chandeliers created an atmosphere of refined elegance. I checked in with the discreet concierge, mentioning the suite number provided in the text. Suite 1203, sir, she confirmed with a slight smile, her tone hinting that she was well aware of the discreet nature of these arrangements. With a small key card in hand, I ascended in a quiet, glass elevator to the 13th floor, a floor rumored to be reserved for those with special reservations. The corridor leading to Suite 1203 was dimly lit, lined with plush carpets and art that seemed to evoke both the past and the promise of the future. At the door marked 1203, I hesitated for a moment, my heart pounding as I steeled myself for whatever awaited inside. I inserted the key card, and the door swung open silently. Inside, I was immediately enveloped in an ambience that defied the ordinary. The suite was lavishly appointed with dark, sumptuous drapes, polished hardwood floors, and an array of carefully curated modern art. Soft music played in the background, a delicate melody that seemed to echo the rhythm of my racing heart. At first glance, the suite was empty, its elegance underscored by a meticulous attention to detail that suggested it had been prepared for an important guest. A small envelope lay atop a grand mahogany table, sealed with a wax emblem that I didn't recognize. I picked it up gingerly and broke the seal. Inside was a handwritten note, its script flowing gracefully. Welcome. Tonight, your senses shall awaken to the pleasures of the extraordinary. Dine with me, and let us share stories that defy time. Follow the silver path. I turned the note over in my hands, searching for clues. The phrase silver path was vague enough to leave room for interpretation, perhaps a hint to look for something reflective or illuminated in the suite. My mind raced with possibilities. Could it be that the suite itself contained a clue leading to a secret dining location, or was the entire arrangement an elaborate ruse designed to test my willingness to step into the unknown? I glanced out the large windows that overlooked the city skyline, the lights of the metropolis shimmering like scattered stars. The opulence of the suite, the cryptic message in my hand, and the palpable air of mystery all combined to create a heady cocktail of anticipation and apprehension. For a long moment, I allowed myself to simply absorb the atmosphere, the silence punctuating my racing thoughts. Then, from the far corner of the suite, I noticed a faint glimmer, a thin, silver trail that wound its way along the edge of a decorative mirror. It was subtle at first, almost imperceptible against the dark backdrop, but as I focused, I saw that it indeed traced a deliberate path. With a deep, steadying breath, I followed the trail. It led me through a series of doorways within the suite, a small anteroom with a vintage desk, a library lined with leather-bound volumes, and finally, to a private dining area hidden behind a partially veiled partition. The dining area was a world unto itself. A long table, adorned with crisp white linens and intricate silverware, was set with meticulous care. Candles in slender silver holders cast a soft glow, and the aroma of delicate spices and simmering sauces hinted at an upcoming culinary experience. I took a seat, still marveling at the care that had been taken to orchestrate every detail of this encounter. It was as if someone had designed this evening with my deepest desires in mind, an escape from the mundane, a night of opulence and heartfelt connection. Almost immediately, the door opened once more, and a figure entered. At first, I couldn't discern any features behind the dim lighting and the subtle haze of cigarette smoke that clung to the air. The person moved with deliberate grace, their steps measured and calm. When they finally reached the table, I realized that this was the orchestrator of the evening, the mysterious host who had sent the cryptic text. "Good evening," the host said in a voice that was warm yet imbued with an unmistakable hint of authority. They extended a hand, and I found myself compelled to accept the greeting despite the swirling uncertainty in my mind. "I am Victor," he introduced himself. "I trust you received my message." His eyes, dark and observant, held a spark that suggested a life rich in secrets and experiences. There was a palpable intensity in his gaze, a mixture of mischief and sincerity, that made me question every assumption I had ever held about my own existence. Victor gestured for me to sit, and as he did, the conversation began in earnest. Over the course of the next hour, we engaged in a dialogue that was both enigmatic and profoundly intimate. He spoke of chance encounters and the hidden layers of life that often go unnoticed by those who cling to routine. He explained that the invitation had been extended not only to offer a night of lavish dining and opulent surroundings, but also as a means to awaken dormant passions and encourage a re-evaluation of what it means to truly live. His words resonated deeply within me, stirring emotions I had long suppressed, desires for adventure, for connection, for a life that transcended the banal routine of everyday responsibilities. Between courses of exquisitely prepared dishes, a delicate amuse-bouche followed by a main course that was both innovative and comforting, Victor revealed fragments of his own story. He confessed that he had once been imprisoned by the very monotony I had grown accustomed to, until he discovered that life could be reimagined through the lens of spontaneity and risk. "Every so often," he said quietly, "we are given an opportunity to break free from the chains of our routine. Tonight is that opportunity for you. Embrace it, and you may discover parts of yourself you never knew existed." The conversation flowed effortlessly, punctuated by moments of laughter, introspection, and shared silence. The atmosphere in the dining room was charged with a sense of possibility, a promise that this night, though shrouded in mystery, held the potential to redefine the very core of my being. As the evening wore on, I found myself opening up about my own struggles, my fears of stagnation, and my longing for something more than a life dictated by predictability. I spoke of lost dreams and quiet hopes, of nights spent wondering if I would ever feel truly alive again. Victor listened intently, his gaze never wavering, as though he could see into the depths of my soul. At one point, he leaned forward and said, "Sometimes, the universe speaks to us in whispers and symbols. This evening, consider the opulent suite and the fine dining as more than mere indulgences, they are invitations to reclaim the vibrant tapestry of your life." His words struck me like a revelation, and for a moment, I felt as if the walls of the suite were closing in, urging me to break free from the confines of my own self-doubt. As dessert was served, a delicate medley of flavors that danced on my tongue, I couldn't help but wonder what lay beyond this meticulously arranged encounter. Victor's parting words, delivered as I prepared to leave the dining area, echoed in my mind, "Remember, the true magic lies not in the luxury of the surroundings, but in the courage to step into the unknown. Tonight is but the beginning of a journey that may alter the course of your life forever." I left Le Grand Eclipse that night with a head full of questions and a heart teetering between hope and uncertainty. The cryptic text that had set all of this in motion was still fresh in my memory, and the images of the opulent suite, the sumptuous dining, and Victor's enigmatic smile lingered like a half-remembered dream. As I drove home through rain-washed streets and under a sky dotted with countless stars, I felt a profound shift within me, a stirring that suggested that perhaps I was on the brink of a transformation I had never dared to imagine. Back in the solitude of my apartment, I found myself restless and unable to sleep. Every shadow in the quiet room seemed imbued with new meaning, every soft hum of the city outside resonated like the beat of an awakened heart. I sat by my window, journal in hand, and began to write down every detail of the evening, every nuance of emotion, every whisper of hope, every lingering doubt. It was as if the events of the night had unlocked a door within me, inviting me to confront both the beauty and the fragility of a life long lived in the safe confines of routine. I realized that, regardless of what lay ahead, I could no longer ignore the call to seek out the extraordinary. The mysterious text, the opulent suite, and the exquisite dining experience had ignited in me a hunger for truth, a hunger to explore the hidden dimensions of my own existence. I resolved that the coming days would be devoted to unraveling the layers of this enigma, to understanding whether this elaborate invitation was the work of fate, or a carefully orchestrated intervention meant to steer me toward a brighter, bolder future. As the night slowly surrendered to the promise of a new dawn, I tucked my journal away and allowed myself a tentative smile. The journey had only just begun, and though I could not predict what trials or revelations lay ahead, I knew that the path I was now on was one of both peril and promise. I felt an unfamiliar sense of liberation, a readiness to face the unknown with all its attendant risks, trusting that the universe, in its infinite wisdom, had chosen this moment for a reason. For now, I drifted into a restless sleep filled with dreams of silver paths, hidden doors, and the faint echo of a mysterious voice urging me forward. And as I closed my eyes, the memory of that cryptic text remained etched in my mind, a silent reminder that sometimes, the smallest message can be the spark that sets an entire life ablaze. The following morning, the city awoke with an unusual hush, as if it, too, was still recovering from the mysterious encounter of the previous night. I awoke in a daze, my mind reeling with vivid recollections, the smooth sound of Victor's voice, the shimmer of silver that had guided me through the opulent suite, and the resonant promise that tonight's experience was only the beginning. I sat on the edge of my bed, the handwritten note from Victor still clutched in my hand, and tried to piece together my emotions. A mix of exhilaration, uncertainty, and an almost sacred curiosity had taken root in me. Determined to understand the implications of that cryptic text, I began a new routine. Every moment of the day was saturated with questions. Who was Victor really? Was he merely a facilitator of this extravagant rendezvous, or was he the architect of a larger, more intricate design? I found myself scouring my journal from the previous night, rereading every line I had written down by the glow of my bedside lamp. The words offered fragments of insight, reflections on lost dreams, on the thrill of abandoning routine, and on the spark of hope that I had long thought extinguished. It was as though I had been offered a chance to reawaken parts of my soul that had been dormant for far too long. That afternoon, I decided to revisit the hotel suite at La Grande Eclipse, even though the opulence and mystique of the previous night still hovered in my mind like a half-remembered dream. The building's marble lobby, the hushed tones of the staff, and the elegance of its corridors all seemed charged with secrets. I approached the concierge once more and inquired, this time more directly, about any recurring reservations or messages that might be associated with the suite. The response was cryptic. Some nights are meant for those who have yet to realize their own potential. We sometimes reserve a space for the unexpected. The words only deepened the mystery, leaving me with a sense that I was caught in a current beyond my full comprehension. In the days that followed, I began receiving subtle hints through text messages. Not all were as direct as the original invitation. Some were fragments, almost poetic in nature, that mentioned silver paths, hidden corridors, and moments when the ordinary dissolves into the extraordinary. Each message arrived at unpredictable intervals, their timing aligning with moments when I felt most vulnerable or most awake. At first, I doubted my own sanity. Was I truly receiving these messages, or was my imagination compensating for the emptiness that had once filled my nights? But as the messages multiplied and the clues began to form a tapestry of deliberate design, I could no longer dismiss them as mere coincidences. One evening, after a particularly taxing day at work, a day filled with the drone of endless meetings and the unyielding pressure of deadlines, I found solace in a small, dimly lit bar on the outskirts of the city. The bar was a haven for those who preferred quiet corners to the glaring lights of downtown clubs. Sipping a whiskey neat, I tried to steady my thoughts when my phone buzzed with another message. At the stroke of midnight, when shadows and light embrace, find the door that leads to what you seek. I stared at the screen in silence, absorbing the weight of the words. They evoked a sense of destiny that was impossible to ignore. With the words echoing in my mind, I left the bar and wandered the labyrinthine streets. The city at night had a pulse of its own, a living mosaic of neon reflections, echoing footsteps, and the murmurs of strangers whose stories remained untold. I eventually found myself in front of an old brick building whose facade was partially obscured by creeping ivy and time. In a narrow alley beside the building, I noticed a door with a tarnished brass plaque. It wasn't adorned with any flashy sign or obvious indication of its purpose, but something about it resonated with the message on my phone. The door's surface was etched with intricate patterns that glimmered faintly under the light of a solitary street lamp, as if inviting me to unlock a secret. I took a deep breath and pressed my hand to the cool metal of the door. Before I could knock, the door swung open on silent hinges, revealing a small foyer lit by the soft glow of antique sconces. The interior was a study in understated elegance, a melding of Art Deco elements and modern minimalism. On a polished side table, I found a single envelope, sealed in deep red wax bearing an emblem I did not recognize. I hesitated only a moment before breaking the seal. Inside, a handwritten note in elegant script read, "Welcome, Seeker. Tonight, you shall dine not only on fine cuisine but on the stories of those who dared to dream. Follow the corridor to the grand hall and allow your senses to be your guide. V." The initial shock of another mysterious invitation mingled with a burgeoning excitement. This new message was clearly from someone known only as V, a name that hinted at a further layer in this unfolding mystery. Without any further hesitation, I stepped through the open door and followed a long, softly lit corridor that led to a grand hall. The hall was an expansive room with high ceilings, its walls adorned with art and photographs that chronicled moments of human triumph, sorrow, and quiet resilience. In the center of the hall, a long dining table was set for an intimate gathering, each place carefully arranged with a pristine white plate, gleaming silverware, and a single rose in a slender vase. A low murmur of conversation and gentle laughter seemed to emanate from the shadows along the edges of the room, as if the hall were already alive with the spirits of those who had come before. I took my seat at the table, the sumptuous surroundings filling me with a mix of awe and trepidation. Soon, the lights were dimmed further, and the first course was served, a delicate arrangement of flavors that danced on my tongue and evoked childhood memories of simple joys. Each bite was an invitation to explore, to open myself up to the myriad experiences that I had long suppressed. During the meal, I exchanged glances with a few other guests who appeared as enigmatic as I felt. Their eyes carried secrets, and their smiles were fleeting, as if they too were part of a grand narrative that defied explanation. At intervals, soft strains of music, a gentle piano interlude, filled the room, harmonizing with the ambient murmurs and punctuating the evening with moments of reflective calm. Then, as the main course was cleared away and the dessert arrived, a sumptuous confection that melded the bitter and the sweet in perfect harmony, the lights dimmed once more, and the host of the evening appeared at the head of the table. A slender figure dressed in a tailored suit, with a refined air and an unmistakable presence, stepped forward. "Good evening," he said in a voice that was both soothing and commanding. "I am Vincent, your host for this journey. Tonight, we gather to explore the hidden dimensions of experience, to rediscover the passion that has long been dormant within us all." His words resonated deeply, stirring a collective murmur of agreement around the table. Vincent proceeded to share the story behind the gathering. He explained that this was not merely a dinner party, it was a carefully curated event designed for individuals who, like us, had felt the monotony of life weighing them down. He spoke of a secret society, an ever-evolving collective that believed in the power of ephemeral encounters to transform lives. "We are the custodians of forgotten dreams," he declared, his eyes scanning the room with a fervor that was both inspiring and unsettling. "We believe that every soul carries within it the capacity for greatness and passion. Tonight, let us embrace our true selves and allow the magic of the moment to guide us." As Vincent spoke, I found myself reflecting on my own journey, on the quiet desperation that had once dominated my existence, and on the subtle, persistent hope that had driven me to respond to that initial cryptic text. The words of Vincent were a balm to the weariness that I had long carried. They promised that within the chaos and mystery lay the potential for rebirth. I listened intently as he described how each gathering was a celebration of individuality, a rebellion against the relentless conformity that society imposed upon us. Every lavish suite, every secret dinner, every carefully orchestrated encounter was a deliberate act of defiance, a reminder that life, in its most authentic form, was meant to be lived with passion and creativity. Throughout the evening, as the courses passed and the conversation deepened, I began to forge subtle connections with those around me. I spoke with a woman named Helena, whose gentle laugh belied a turbulent past, and with a man named Arthur, whose quiet confidence and keen insights revealed a lifetime of silent struggles. Their stories intertwined with mine, forming a delicate mosaic of shared vulnerability and hope. I recounted my own journey, a narrative of isolation, missed opportunities, and the gradual, almost imperceptible awakening to the possibility of a life less ordinary. In their empathetic glances and encouraging nods, I sensed a recognition of that same inner fire, a spark that had perhaps brought each of us to this moment of communal revelation. As the night wore on, Vincent invited us to share one final ritual, a moment of collective introspection. He instructed each guest to close their eyes and listen to the quiet hum of the room, to let their thoughts wander and to embrace the sensations that surfaced from the depths of their being. In that suspended moment, the clatter of fine china, the soft notes of the piano, and even the distant hum of the city seemed to fade away, leaving only the raw, unfiltered experience of our shared humanity. I felt as though I was suspended between waking and dreaming, a participant in an ancient rite of passage that transcended time and space. When the lights gradually returned, Vincent spoke once more. "You have tasted the essence of a hidden world," he said, his voice echoing in the newly quiet hall. "Remember that every moment of beauty, every fleeting spark of joy, is a call to awaken the truth within you. Let tonight be the beginning of a journey to reclaim the passions that lie dormant and to build a life where every experience is a celebration of your authentic self." With those final words, he bowed slightly and retreated into the gathering shadows, leaving me and the other guests in a silence that felt both sacred and transformative. I left the dinner with a head buzzing with emotions and a heart racing with anticipation. Outside, the cool night air wrapped around me as I stepped onto the quiet street, and I couldn't help but reflect on the powerful paradox of the evening. On one hand, the lavish opulence of the suite and the sumptuous dining experience had been orchestrated with such precision that it felt almost surreal. On the other, the raw, unguarded moments of connection, the whispered confidences, the tearful smiles, the collective understanding that we were all seekers of something greater, grounded the experience in an undeniable reality. Over the next several days, I found that the memory of that night lingered like a vibrant echo. Every time I glanced at my phone, I felt a renewed sense of possibility, a reminder that the cryptic text which had once startled me was, in fact, a gateway to a life full of hidden treasures. I returned to my daily routine with a new perspective, determined to seek out the extraordinary in the mundane. I began writing fervently in my journal, chronicling not only the details of that opulent rendezvous but also my evolving thoughts and feelings about life, identity, and the quiet rebellion against the ordinary. I started exploring places I had once avoided, quiet museums, dimly lit jazz clubs, forgotten parks, and in each, I discovered subtle hints of the world Vincent and his companions inhabited. It was as though every moment held a secret, waiting for someone brave enough to decipher its meaning. And gradually, I began to see myself in a new light. No longer was I simply a passive observer of life, I was an active participant in a grand narrative, one that challenged me to break free from the confines of my past and to embrace the full spectrum of human emotion. One evening, a week after the dinner, I received a new text from the same unfamiliar number: "Your journey continues. Tonight, meet at the Eclipse rooftop bar. Let your heart lead the way." With each successive message, I felt both the thrill of anticipation and the burden of the unknown. Was I meant to follow these clandestine invitations to unravel more of my hidden self? Or was I being drawn into a labyrinth from which there was no escape? Despite the lingering doubts, I knew I could no longer resist the call. That night, as I ascended to the Eclipse rooftop bar, a sleek, modern space perched atop a historic building, I felt as though I was stepping into a new chapter of an epic tale. The bar was alive with music and laughter, a stark contrast to the somber introspection of previous gatherings. Yet even amid the revelry, I sensed an undercurrent of purpose, a shared understanding among those present that this was more than just a night of frivolity. I found a quiet spot near the edge of the rooftop, where the city sprawled below in a tapestry of glittering lights, and awaited further instructions. Moments later, a figure emerged from the crowd, a woman with an unmistakable aura of quiet determination. She introduced herself as Serena. Her eyes, bright and searching, held a deep empathy that immediately put me at ease. Over the course of the evening, Serena and I spoke at length about our experiences, our fears, and the transformative power of embracing life's hidden mysteries. She recounted her own journey, a path fraught with challenges and unexpected beauty, and in her words, I recognized the same longing that had driven me to answer that initial cryptic text. As the night deepened, I felt the weight of the mystery begin to lift ever so slightly. The series of orchestrated events, from the opulent suite to the clandestine dinner, and now to the rooftop bar, had not only offered a series of unforgettable experiences but had also ignited within me a profound self-awareness. I realized that each encounter, each whispered promise, had been a step toward reclaiming the passions I had long set aside. The cryptic texts were not simply invitations to secret rendezvous, they were keys to unlocking parts of my soul that I had thought were lost forever. Standing there on the rooftop, as the cool night air mingled with the soft glow of neon signs and the distant hum of city life, I felt a surge of gratitude for every moment, the exhilarating rush of uncertainty, the gentle warmth of shared understanding, and even the lingering pangs of fear that reminded me of the fragility of the human heart. I knew that my journey was far from over, there were still mysteries to be unraveled, connections to be forged, and truths to be faced. Yet, in that moment, I also knew that I was no longer the person I once was. I had awakened to a world of possibilities, a realm where the extraordinary hid in plain sight, waiting for those with the courage to look beyond the surface. Now, as I continue on this journey, one marked by secret messages, hidden rendezvous, and intimate revelations, I carry with me the lessons of each encounter. I have learned that life is not measured solely by the routine of our days, but by the unexpected moments that challenge us to become our truest selves. I have discovered that even in the midst of opulence and mystery, the most profound beauty lies in the quiet vulnerability of the human spirit. As I pen these final lines of tonight's chapter, I find myself filled with both anticipation and reverence for what lies ahead. The cryptic texts that once startled me have now become a symbol of transformation, a beacon guiding me through the labyrinth of my own soul. I close my journal with a promise to myself, to remain open to every secret encounter, every whispered invitation, and to embrace the unknown with both caution and unbridled hope. For now, the night wanes and the city prepares to awaken once more. I step off the rooftop with a heart emboldened by the experiences of these past few days, ready to face whatever new mysteries may be unveiled. The journey continues, and as I walk into the unfolding dawn, I do so with the quiet certainty that I am finally beginning to live the life I once only dared to imagine.